All right. Well, I just got inside from outside. Inside from outside. Well, obviously, if I got inside, I was outside. Anyway, I went outside to check on the chickens because it's pretty cold out here today, and I was just trying to check on them, see make sure they're doing okay, and I noticed that their water was completely frozen. And so luckily I planned ahead for this, and I have one of those water heaters. And so today's the first day that I'm using it. Hopefully it goes very well. But I installed it. I put the new waterer out there, and the chickens went right for it. They were obviously very thirsty. So hopefully they weren't without water for too long. I think yesterday they were fine, but we'll see. Anyway, I wanted to just do a video about a tweet that I saw from Lauren Southern. If you don't follow Lauren Southern, definitely recommend it. She's a very interesting person. Pretty smart as well. And so she tweets out this study that says, study shows lockdowns will force 128 million into starvation worldwide. And she has a YouTube video about it, and somebody asked her for the citation, and she cites this study from oxfam.org, The Power of the People Against Poverty. And the idea here is that that basically people are going to die of hunger, most likely, because of these shutdowns. So the social and economic fallout from the pandemic, including mass unemployment, disruption to food production, supplies, and declining aid, is going to negatively impact people that are on the margins, people that rely on the generosity of others for their food, people that rely on people giving to poverty programs and stuff like that. This is a big problem, and this is something that I predicted, right? I predicted this because this is not fear mongering. This is not like trying to get someone to be super scared of something that's like not true. Like, obviously, if you shut down entire segments of the economy, the gross domestic product goes down, people's disposable income goes down, all this kind of stuff. Obviously, that's going to have an effect on the poorest people more than it'll have an effect on the richer people. And this is something that I predicted back in March. I found the video where I did it. It was a review of Russell Moore's idiotic article in the New York Times. He wrote a piece in the New York Times that says, well, you gotta love your neighbor, and so we need to take care of our elderly and our sickly because the lives of them are more important than the economy. And at the time, I predicted that was just essentially telling you to transfer death. It's not gonna avoid death. Death can't be avoided. But when you shut down entire segments of the economy, you're just changing who dies. You're changing it from elderly and sickly to poorer people. It's a very disturbing way to try to pretend like you care about lives, to transfer who dies to the poorest among us. It's an unchristian way to think, and it's pretty evil. And I want to show you that this is exactly what I predicted, and I want to show you how I did this because I'm not a prophet. I didn't consult my crystal ball. I didn't go to a necromancer to tell me what the future held. So I want you to see this, and I want to talk about how I was able to predict this. New York Times to have it, and I didn't want to do that. I don't want to click strange links and stuff like that. Somebody sent me. By the way, if you notice, I'm wearing the exact same clothing in this video that I am right now, which is not that unusual because I actually don't own that many clothes. It was funny. Like, I don't know if a lot of you guys probably saw that Kurt Kennedy podcast where he critiqued me and said all kinds of stuff about me. One of the things he was trying to, he tried to make fun of me a few times, and some of them were pretty good, but one of them was something about how I'm probably one of those guys that like wants to know where you got your shoes. And my brother called me up and he's like, dude, if he only knew you, man, like you're like the last person on earth that cares about sneakers or shoes and stuff like that. I haven't bought shoes in many, many years. It's just like, you should see my shoes, man. They're like falling apart. Anyway, whatever. Me an article from the website Lamb's Reign. And I was like, dude, I don't click strange links. Come on, man. That's a joke. But anyway, so yeah, I didn't want to read it. And then now I'm going to because I want to make up for my missing the upload yesterday. So I'm going to read the Russell Moore article. I have not read it yet. I heard it's a gem. And I'm going to respond to it. But essentially what it seems to me, like this article is making the argument about how the economy is less important than preserving human lives, which I've done a number of videos on this week. I think that's a really stupid argument. And I'm just going to come out and say that. I think that's a very stupid argument because the economy is part and parcel of human life. And only a real elitist could make an argument like that. Because when it comes down to shutting down the economy, it's a big mistake, first of all, a huge mistake. And it doesn't actually save lives. Instead, it just transfers the lives that are being ruined, essentially, destroyed, things like that. And it does it in the worst possible way. Because at the end of the day, a guy like me, I'm middle class, I can survive a few months of the economy shutting down, most likely. And I'm not saying I definitely could, but I probably could. You know, I've got enough money socked away. I can find something to do. I'm a young guy. I could put myself in harm's way if I needed to, to make some money, things like that. Rich people can definitely survive it. I saw a Dennis Prager video yesterday where he said, my life's not being ruined. And that's right. I mean, rich people can survive, a tremendous economic downturn. But the people who can't are the poor people, the most vulnerable among us. And so if you make an argument like, hey, you should shut the economy down because, you just want a few extra bucks in your stock portfolio, what they're doing is they're betraying. They don't know how poor people actually live. They live paycheck to paycheck. They rely on these service industries that have been shut down at the stroke of a pen. And they're put at risk. And even if you say, well, Americans aren't going to be put at risk because we've got a social welfare program and stuff like that. Okay, fine. Granted, let's just say Americans aren't put at risk, which is actually not true. That's bogus. But how many countries rely on the American economy being strong? How many poor countries, Ethiopia, how many places do we send missionaries that rely on us having the income and the ability and the capacity to do that? And someone down the chain is going to lose their lives because of this economic shutdown. Now, so I was able to predict this, exactly. And I hadn't done any studies. I hadn't read any studies. All I did was apply just a little bit of foresight and thinking to myself, when we shut down the economy, which God's law does not allow us to do, the government does not have the authority to shut down commerce, in the service industry or movie theaters or stuff like that. Like, that is not in their purview. I said it back in March, and I'm still saying it because you cannot show me a scripture that allows the government to do that. The government is for one thing, for one purpose, and that is to punish evildoers. And so I was thinking to myself, okay, if you shut down entire segments of the economy, the segments that you're shutting down are more affecting poorer people. So clearly their lives are more at jeopardy, not to mention the fact that if you shut down entire segments of the U.S. economy, that lowers our disposable income, which obviously lowers the amount that we can give to other nations. And so I didn't have a study like Oxfam International here, but Oxfam International is trying to put numbers on it. I don't know how accurate these numbers are. 12,000 people a day, 121 million people could be pushed to the brink of starvation. I'm not saying that these numbers are accurate. What I am saying is this is an obvious result. And so I think the question you need to ask yourself is, why is Russell Moore, one of your leaders who's been hired by the Southern Baptist Convention to be thinking through complex ethical dilemmas, why is he just giving you propaganda? Right? Why is he just giving you the same propaganda that CNN is giving you, that quote-unquote quarantine save lives? No, they don't. No, they don't. They just transfer who dies, and they transfer it on the backs of poor people. And so to save grandma, supposedly, because let's just be honest, the coronavirus pandemic wasn't as serious then as they were saying, and it's still not as serious as they're saying. So you've seen the survival rates for this. So taking extreme actions is shutting down the entire economy. One of the most extreme things I can think of, which, by the way, Trump participated in this. So Trump is not innocent here. Trump is not innocent here. It just so happens that his opponent, Joe Biden, wants to do it even harder. You know what I mean? So why are your evangelical leaders who you've hired because of their complex ethical reasoning saying, it saves lives, the same exact thing CNN is saying, and the same exact thing that's actually untrue? Why does Russell Moore want to decide and engineer who dies from the coronavirus pandemic as opposed to letting God decide, right? Why is that the case? Why is someone who supposedly cares about the oppressed and the poor and all this stuff, why is he giving you propaganda that's actually going to put the death on the backs of the poor people, on the backs of brown people over in Africa and stuff like that? Why is that? That's the question that you need to ask yourself. Why is someone who's, again, hired for his ethical, mastery so simplistic, so basic that he doesn't understand thinking even one step ahead? Guys, this is how I've done this. I'm not a prophet. I'm not a prophet, but what I am willing to do is look beyond what I can see with my own eyes immediately. I can look to tomorrow. And by the way, this is a biblical requirement. God requires you to think about tomorrow. It's not just hand to mouth here with God's people. We've got to think about tomorrow. This is the whole rhythm of the Sabbath day, right? Like you had to plan ahead for the Sabbath day because you couldn't do any work on the Sabbath day. You had to plan ahead for the Sabbath year because you couldn't do any work for the Sabbath year. Like you had to plan ahead in order to be following Christ faithfully, in order to be obeying his commands and stuff like that. And so when we're thinking through actions that we take today, we should not only be thinking about today, but we should also be thinking about our children and our children's children. A righteous man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. And so, brothers, I certainly hope that you're ready for these unethical, evil, wicked, destructive lockdowns that are coming in December and right now. I hope that you're better planned for it today than you were in March, right? Because a lot of us were planned in March for this. I was one of those people that planned. I think I started a little bit too late to plan, but I started way ahead of most people. And I'll tell you right now, I went to Target yesterday to do some shopping for some toys for my kids for Christmas, and I looked at the toilet paper aisle, and it was empty again. The toilet paper aisle was completely empty again. I sure hope that you planned ahead for that kind of thing. I'm not talking about stockpiling toilet paper and being panic buying stuff. What I am talking about is I hope that you're prepared for the lockdown this time. And if you're not, the time to start is right now. Look, you can't change the past. If you're not prepared for the lockdown already, I hope you are with food, with extra provisions and stuff like that to get through the winter. If you couldn't go shopping for the whole winter, I sure hope that you're prepared for surviving during that time. Right? I'm not trying to spread panic, but what I am trying to do is get you prepared for other people to panic, right? So if you're not, though, today is the day to start doing that. Today is this day to start planning. Today is the day to start networking with your local community to sort of, hey, guys, I got your back. You got my back. Well, let's just do this together because there's a winter coming that we don't know what's going to happen because the powers at be are freaking ruthless. And Russell Moore and Al Mohler and all of these guys, they're all part of it, man. They're all part of this zeitgeist. They're all saying the same propaganda. Why is it that a moron on YouTube like myself can predict the evil of the quarantine and the shutdowns, the transfer of death to the poor people of the shutdowns back in March? Without any studies, without any special knowledge, without any hidden, I wasn't consulting any mediums or anything like that. How was I able to predict this? But Russell Moore was telling you the propaganda that CNN was giving you as well, how this is going to supposedly save lives. No, it's not. The shutdown will not save lives. It has not saved lives, and it will never save lives. All it will do is transfer the death to the poor, the very people that God tells you to consider and protect. So why is this so upside down? I don't know the answer for why. All I know is that it is. Russell Moore is wicked for spreading the propaganda that the pagans spread, and it's propaganda that is upside down. It's propaganda that's telling you the government has authorities that it does not have. It's propaganda that's telling you lies, the same exact lies that big media is telling you, the legacy media, all that fake news stuff. Every lie that you get from fake news, you will also get from Big Eva, ERLC, Gospel Coalition, and all those sissies. Stop consenting to it. You don't have to be a genius to see the future. What you do have to do, though, is apply God's word and say, you know what, guys, we're not allowed to engineer who dies from this kind of stuff. We can protect ourselves. There's quarantine laws back in the Old Testament that we can use. If you're sick, you quarantine, all that kind of stuff. You're smart about things, but you don't shut down entire segments that the poor people rely on. That's stupid, guys, and more than stupid, it's actually evil. Russell Moore, when he wrote for the New York Times, talking about how God does not want us to sacrifice the old for the economy, just a few extra bucks in your pocket. I urge you to watch this video, this video that I did in his article, because I unpack exactly why it's evil. God doesn't want us to do that, guys. Surprise, surprise, God doesn't want us to engineer who dies based on, I don't know, this whatever propaganda MSNBC's shoving down your throats that day. Stop following Russell Moore. Stop paying him. If you're in the SBC, insist that you stop paying into this cooperative program that gives Russell Moore a humongous budget to spend on salaries and trips for himself. That's enough of that stuff. This is the same thing the pagans do. You saw that whole thing about Joe Biden's cancer initiative, how every dollar went to trips and salaries and not a single dollar went to research. That's exactly what the ERLC does. Every dollar goes to salaries and trips, and like $10 goes to research. This is the point, guys. Like you're being bamboozled by the progressives, and Russell Moore is part of it, and all of your favorite evangelical leaders are part of it, unless they're obviously not. There's a handful of guys that are obviously bucking against the trend, kicking against the goad. There's a handful of guys that are doing that, but it's a handful. Most every one of your favorite authors and bloggers and conference speakers are part of this propaganda machine, and I'm freaking sick of it. Anyway, I hope you found this video helpful. I'm going to go check on my chickens to make sure that water is not freezing over and that the heater is working properly. Hope you found this video helpful. God bless.